Welcome to Spotlight. I'm your host, Jane Wernette. Today I'm joined by three local nonprofits, Giving DuPage, Max's Mission, and the Indian Prairie Educational Foundation.
Today's Spotlight is brought to you in part by presenting sponsor, UC Bank.
You're watching Spotlight, and joining me now from Giving DuPage are Taylor Endicott and Jonathan Kruger. Very nice to have you both on the show and get to meet you. And Taylor, I'm going to start right off with you. Talk a little bit about Giving DuPage and how you partner with organizations, both nonprofit and for-profit.
Yes, absolutely. So Giving DuPage is the volunteer center for DuPage County. So a couple of our opportunities are our volunteer portal, which has in-kind needs, volunteer opportunities, and nonprofit jobs. And so it's a great way for the community to be able to go on and see what is available right here in their backyard, essentially.
Okay.
Just different volunteer opportunities is the key. And right now we have almost close to 500 different opportunities available for the community to get involved.
Okay, so that's kind of like almost like a brokerage. You're kind of dating. You're matching volunteers with what they're interested in, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And community members can go on and create an account, and they can search on causes, locations. So if they're looking for something that's close to their home, and if they have a specific cause like hunger that they're interested in, they can narrow that search down to find something that fits their schedule and their interest.
Okay, yeah, that's great. And then, so how does that work? That's obviously for nonprofits. How does it work for profits?
Yeah. And so right now, too, we're helping for-profit companies match with nonprofits. So if a company is interested and want to give back, but they necessarily don't know where to start, reach out to us, and we can help them connect to a nonprofit that supports their company size, their interests, their causes, all of that, and help connect them. And then the other big part that we do connecting businesses with nonprofits is our Giving DuPage Days that comes up in May, and really brings light to the mission of each individual nonprofit and how we can support them as a community.
Okay, so it's a nice way that, that corporate social responsibility, they can get a little bit of team building sometimes around that volunteer effort.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful. Jonathan, you've been on the board a little while. What's your why? Why are you there?
Well, I've noticed, throughout the years, the importance and the value of volunteering overall. I mean, there's so much need in our community. And I was so impressed with the work that was being done by this board to be able to help connect people to get involved, how to get involved, where to get involved, because a lot of people don't know. They want to help, but they're not sure how to go about it.
Yeah.
And this is the place to be able to do that. And I also have found that volunteering is so important to help out our community, but also when you volunteer, it helps yourself out also.
Yeah.
I think people who are, when they need to have time, or if they're just going through the stresses and anxieties of daily life, volunteering helps you kind of build your own esteem, because the more you give, the more healing I think that you provide for yourself.
Yeah, you fill the cup, right?
Absolutely. And this organization allows you and helps you to find those places where you can give, whatever the different cause might be for you, whatever your, what is your why or what's important for you, or whatever, is that you kind of fits what you're trying to do.
Sure.
And it's nice to be able to have that as a place, as a go-to, because people always ask, where can I go to make a difference?
Yeah. And I think there's lots of people, whether you're young or old, that want to make a difference. What's your specialty? What do you like?
I have always been involved in the wellness side. My wife and I are very active with other nonprofits in providing ways for people to live a healthier life. And so for us, that's been our focus for many, many years.
Okay, nice. Yeah. Now, Taylor, you're relatively new to Giving DuPage, so welcome from that standpoint. Talk a little bit about what attracted you to the organization.
Yeah. So I've been in the nonprofit space for, several years, and I was doing it on a state level prior to this, and I was born and raised in DuPage County, and so when I saw this come up, really giving back to the community and the roots was exciting to me. And honestly, I did not know what Giving DuPage was prior to finding the job, and so I was like, okay, this is where we need to start. We need to get the word out even more and sharing that this resource is available to the community. And so that is kind of what excited me to get back to my community, get back to my roots, and continue to share the amazing mission.
Okay, that's nice. Welcome home.
Yeah, it feels good to be back.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes I think that's very true, right? Charity starts at home, and sometimes you know a lot more about where you came from, so that can be useful.
Yes.
Talk a little bit, Jonathan, about how you would inspire others to get involved with you.
Well, I think this is a great place to start. And I think that people do want to give, and they do want to make a difference, and they do want to help other people out. So I think the more we can get the word out that this is kind of like the hub where you can actually find out where can I reach out, who can I help, how can I support. And every time I tell the story of the good work that Giving DuPage is providing, they're all like, wow, I didn't know that. And I think the more we can let people know, the more impact we're going to have. And I think it's really the nonprofit that's going to provide real transformation and real change in our communities. And I think if everybody just gives a little bit of time each, just like a little bit of money each, it makes a difference.
Sure.
And young people, it can be huge for helping them, just grow into being an adult. And for older people who are like retired, when you retire, you need to figure out what to do.
Yeah.
And this is the perfect time to be able to make the effort and put in the time and give back. And I think that people will live longer, live happier, and live healthier if they spend that time giving back to their community.
I think well said. And I think too, in that sort of retirement on older people, your world starts to get a little smaller, right? And trying to keep pushing that world back out and staying connected and not isolated. Yeah, very true. Yeah. Very true. Taylor, what are you most excited? So you're new, you're in your honeymoon phase.
And she's on her honeymoon.
Oh, and she's on her honeymoon. Oh,
newly married.
Congratulations. That's awesome. Glad she's spending it with us, right? What are you most excited about as you look to kind of that future vision that you both have talked about? What are you most excited for?
Really excited to continue to get that word out. Really excited to connect with the community and really share the amazing nonprofits that are right here, right in the backyard. There are, over 1,000 nonprofits in DuPage County alone. And so my job is to support them. And I'm excited to learn all of their missions, learn how we can best support, and learn how to connect the community with each of the nonprofits. And, kind of just looking forward to the events that we have coming up, and the amazing work the board has already done and will continue to do is just, a light. So looking forward to it for sure.
Well, welcome. And it sounds like you, together with your board, you're going to have great success going forward in 2025. So thank you so much for coming by. We so appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Absolutely. And if you would like to learn more about Giving DuPage, please go and visit their website. We're going to take a quick break, but stay tuned. We're coming right back with more Spotlight.
Today's Spotlight is brought to you in part by presenting sponsor, UC Bank.
This is the Run My Own Business dream. This is the college is paid for dream. This is the retire early dream. This is Busey, where your dreams and possibilities become moments through trusted guidance and expertise, through lifelong relationships. Because we're here to help you achieve the life you've always envisioned.
Why go digging for important Naperville news when you can have it dished out directly to you? With NCTV 17 News Update, get all the local headlines without any of the hassle or subscription fees emailed to you Monday through Friday. Because we believe in everyone's free access to stories that inform, connect, and empower the whole community. Sign up today.
Today's Spotlight is brought to you in part by presenting sponsor, UC Bank.
If you're just tuning in, you're watching Spotlight. I'm your host, Jane Wernette, and joining me now from Max's Mission are Jill Wajenko and Julie Wynn. So nice to have you both with us. And Jill, I'm going to start right out with you. What is Max's Mission?
Max's Mission is a nonprofit that was started in 2022 in honor of our son Max, who we lost to suicide at age 15. Our main mission with Max's Mission is helping survivors of suicide loss.
Yeah, I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Yeah, and talk a little bit about the impact Because you started it, obviously you experienced it personally. How are you sort of taking that message forward into the community to impact the community?
I feel like we just keep growing and growing with how we're impacting the community. But one of our first initiatives that really took off is the Baskets of Hope, where we deliver baskets to newly bereaved families. They're full of useful items for survivors of suicide loss. But the most important thing that we deliver with the basket is a resource guide with all kinds of information about local therapists who have availability and specialize in suicide loss, support groups, Facebook groups, camps, retreats, and we also started our own support group that I host monthly, and then our Say Their Name project, where we feature a life lost to suicide every day of the month in May and September. Say Their Name is a project where I ask family members who have lost loved ones to suicide the same 4 questions about the person that they lost. None of the questions are about how the person died, but they're about how they lived.
That's a lot of really good stuff. Helpful to you too?
It's extremely helpful to me. I think the most important thing we're doing with Max's mission is forming all of these connections, which are in itself forming a community of suicide loss survivors, so that everyone, if they choose to not be alone, doesn't have to be alone after this loss.
Yeah, that's well said. Well said. Julie, how would you describe the organization in, let's say, 3 words?
I think 3 really powerful words that are part of our mission statement are hope, healing, and connection, kind of building off of Jill's suggestion that we're trying to forge this community of suicide loss survivors. But I would actually step back and share 3 other words that I think are really critical to the impact that we have on this community of loss survivors. And that would be postvention is prevention. Postvention is a term really specific to suicide loss, which refers to supportive interventions provided to families of loss survivors immediately following the death of a loved one to suicide. And the notion that postvention is prevention is really poignant because it points to the fact that suicide loss survivors are at a significantly increased risk of suicide themselves following the loss of a loved one to suicide. And so I think that's just really powerful, knowing that's sort of what's driving us to create these opportunities, these initiatives, these projects, these events to help those who have lost a loved one to suicide.
Yeah, wow. That's and those are really good pieces of information to know, right? Because you wouldn't necessarily assume that, but to know that and to know the work you're doing is trying to prevent the next loss. Yeah. Jill, talk a little bit about what some of the common misperceptions are.
About suicide, you mean? I think with suicide loss, the biggest misconception is that, and just with grief in general, when people lose loved ones, that they need to be left alone, you know, that they need their space. Some people, yes, maybe, but I think the vast majority need connection to heal properly. So we don't need to be left alone, and we need help, and we need resources, and not just for a couple of days or a couple of months, for the rest of our lives. So I think that's the biggest misconception that people have.
I would agree, and I think Jill's project, the Say Their Name project that she initiated, which really does feature a life lost to suicide, really kind of drives that message home. These people who have lost a loved one, they want to say their name. They want to share their memories. They want people to see pictures of their beautiful lives and their experiences. And I think by initiating this project and continuing it 2 months a year, Jill is really sort of breaking down some of the stigma and some of the taboo surrounding talking about suicide and those who've lost a loved one to suicide openly and honestly.
Yeah. I would imagine that, I'm kind of been through that, but I would imagine that one of the hardest things is knowing what to say, right? I think people are often really worried about saying the wrong things, and then you haven't said anything, and then you realize, oh my gosh, I haven't said anything, and now I really don't know what to say. What would you tell them? What should somebody say?
Say anything.
Okay.
Say anything.
Okay.
If you worry too much about what you're going to say, it's going to sound super scripted. So anything is always better than nothing.
Okay.
So, and it's not, I don't ever remember exactly what people say. It's just I remember how often they've contacted me and that they've stayed in my life. But it's not about what they're saying. It's their presence.
Yeah.
And the most important thing with loss is just as a friend, supporting another friend or family member who's had the loss, being okay okay sitting in the pain with them and not trying to fix it.
Yeah.
It's not something that can be fixed or taken away.
Right.
But a lot of people are very uncomfortable sitting in that.
Yeah.
But that's what you need to do to be a good friend.
Okay, that's great advice.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really great advice. I mean, what do you think, Julie, what would you say to people would be the greatest need for your mission? Obviously, other than money, which is one of those things we all need in the nonprofit space, but what do you need from the community?
I think awareness that we're out there, who we are, what we do, why we're doing it, and how important this work is. On our own end, we've produced all of these marketing materials that we're getting out to churches and funeral homes and schools and therapists' office. We have this fantastic new website that's about to launch, which will be a great landing page for people. But we need awareness in terms of others from the community becoming involved, becoming engaged, trying to continue to spread our mission, whether that be sharing events that they've attended that Max's Mission has hosted, sharing things that they're reading about us on social media, engaging in these tough conversations that we're trying to have on an ongoing and regular basis. All of those things, I think, raise awareness for our mission and how critical it is to those who suffer from mental health challenges, suicidal ideation, suicide survivorship, et cetera. These are really, really important messages.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wonder, do you find that, because I feel in general when we sit with a lot of people who are working in the social services arena, that there is less stigma than there was pre-COVID in the mental health space, that people are more comfortable having some of those conversations. Are you seeing that in the same area? Because obviously you're in a very specific part of that process. Do you find that?
I don't have anything to compare it to before
your loss
my
is more
loss,
recent.
right? It depends on the day of the week, honestly. Some days I can feel like, wow, so many walls have been broken down, and then you just, other days I don't feel the same. It depends on what company I'm in day to day. There's still a lot of work to do. There needs to be more open conversations, I think.
Okay.
Julie?
I think something unique that Jill is doing with Max's Mission as well is kind of delivering these resources and these messages across multiple platforms in different contexts, in different environments, kind of meeting people where they're at and allowing them to access us in a way that is comfortable and normal for them. We did an event in October called Skate Talk, where we had professional skateboarders come out, skate with kids locally at Frontier Park, a great skate competition, and then afterwards sat down with these young adults and talked honestly about mental health, about anxiety and stress regulation, about suicide, friends they had lost to suicide, what it means for suicide survivors. And that was really powerful because I'm not sure many of those people there that day would have been able to access that message in another environment or another context.
Sure, and maybe might not have shown up to have that message, right? But this is a way that you're connecting it through a passion that they love and a passion that Max loved, right?
Right.
You talked a little bit there in terms of what makes it unique. As we wrap up, Jill, what do you feel makes your mission unique versus other, and there are not a lot of other organizations in your specific area, but for those that are, what makes you unique?
I don't think there are any in the western suburbs. I wish there were more of us. I wish there were more in Naperville, but I think what makes us unique is we are reaching out to suicide loss survivors as a form of prevention, which I think once people think about it for 10 seconds, they understand why. But that is our specific mission, is suicide loss survivors, helping them help themselves so there's not another suicide. And I don't know any other nonprofit that's doing that in the Chicagoland area. There are some in the United States. There's a lot in the UK, but I don't know any others in the Chicagoland area.
Okay. If people wanted to join and help you, how can they help you?
Well, they can go to our website and get in touch with me. But I'm always looking for people to help out at events that we're hosting to, we have a table and to hand out materials and basically just to spread the word about Max's Mission.
Okay. Thank you for sharing the stories. We really appreciate it, and we wish you all the best in the mission. It's so important, right? Thank you.
Thank you.
To find out more about Max's Mission, please go and visit their website. We're going to take a quick break, but stay tuned. We're coming right back.
This is the When Art Flourishes, Everyone Flourishes commitment. This is the Let's Revitalize Our Neighborhoods commitment. This is the roll up our sleeves and pitch in commitment. This is Busey, where our commitment to strengthen our communities is a top priority. Through energetic, engaged volunteers, through monetary support and advocacy. Because Busey is more than a bank that does well, we're a bank that does good.
What's the matter, boy? What are you trying to tell me? Is something wrong?
We live in a safe community, but not a crime-free community. If you see something, say something.
Naperville Animal Crime Stoppers.
Yes, I'd like to report a case of animal cruelty and neglect.
Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves. Today's Spotlight is brought to you in part by presenting sponsor, Busey Bank.
Welcome back to Spotlight. And joining me now from Indian Prairie Education Foundation is Trudy Ransom. Welcome, Trudy.
Thank you so much for having us today.
Yeah, always nice to have you back here. So we're going to start out with your mission.
I'm the executive director of the Indian Prairie Educational Foundation, and our mission is, in partnership with District 204, to support the students by enriching their education, and whether that is academic, artistic, emotional, physical, however that looks and whatever the needs of the district are, that's what we do.
That's the impact.
That is the impact. And whether that is a program, an artistic program for the fine arts, or an academic program like STEM or literacy, wellness, heart screenings for high schoolers, or even social emotional wellness, mental health supports, or physical wellness like fulfilling some of the needs for our low income and homeless students. So we cover a wide gamut of things, but essentially it all comes back to that directive that we are enriching education in every way possible.
And not with the taxpayer's dollar.
Absolutely not.
That's what you bring to the table, right?
We do. There are an awful lot of things that the taxpayer money doesn't cover, and we try to provide those extras, those opportunities, those little helping hands sometimes that the students need to remove barriers and to access greater opportunities.
Okay. Tell me something that maybe we don't know about the history of your organization.
You know, it's funny. I think most people don't realize just how long we have been partnering with District 204. We have been around since 1988. Now, I know we're both too young to remember 1988.
Totally.
but it's a long history of partnership, and we started out supporting the fine arts. The district was going to cut fine arts from the budget because they were making some budget cuts, and a small group of very like-minded community members and parents and leaders said, no, we want to know how we can support the district to provide the kids with what we see are sort of vital parts of their education.
Okay.
And it just sort of evolved from there because, you know, once you're good at something, people
Why not
start
add
asking
on?
more. Exactly. Exactly. So I think people don't realize that we have actually been around for 37 years now here in the district.
You don't look a day at 37. That's
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Give us an example of a story or a moment, something that you're really proud of where the IPEF has really impacted and really showcased the mission in a really good way.
Well, I think one of the most amazing programs that we do is our free heart screenings for high schoolers. We only do that every other year, and this is an on year for us.
Okay.
We just completed the third round at Mateo Valley High School. And this year, we have screened over 5,000 high school students.
Wow.
And we do it completely for free. We don't ask for insurance. We don't ask for anything, medical history, anything. We just say, if you want an ECG, you can have one. And that is not something that is included in any sort of school or sports physical. And yet, it actually detects a lot of issues that can lead to sudden cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
I have to tell you that I meet a lot of volunteers doing this. And one of the volunteers, I usually ask, why do you do this? And she said, I did this because she lost her son to sudden cardiac arrest. And how grateful she was for the foundation. Because if they had had this opportunity to screen her son while he was still in high school, it was something that was treatable. And I know that for a lot of parents, this was scary news, but I am incredibly pleased that 36 students this year were flagged with abnormal ECGs, which means that they were referred on for further testing. And it's my sincere, deep hope that we helped families avert a tragedy like that in our district so that those families don't have to experience what this lifelong volunteer did.
Wow, that's a very powerful story. And what an amazing legacy that volunteer continues to come back. That really speaks to the impact that program is having, right?
It really does. And this becomes a community-wide event because every time we do this, we need somewhere between 150 and 200 volunteers.
That's a lot.
It is a lot. And so, but our community, our PTAs, our parents, our retirees, nursing students, everybody just comes and helps out for one day. We cranked through over 1,600 kids at Mattia alone in one day.
Yeah.
And it is a fantastic and amazing program, and I'm really proud of the work that all of the people put into it.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's an incredible support
Yes.
for the educational process that the district is going through, right?
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about, because obviously, 1988, life looked a lot different. It looked a lot different in the world, in your district, and the needs have changed and evolved over that 30-some years, right? So how do you adapt? How do you pivot?
I think one of our strengths is that we work very closely with district administration to find out what their needs are. So as those needs change, we say, how can we help you with that? So in the 20-teens, it was things like STEM and STEM education, which is expensive to get started, and we were pleased to help out with things like robotics and engineering and programs such as those. But I will tell you that more recently, we are seeing a huge upswing in both the need for mental health supports and also the need to assist low-income and homeless students in our district. We live in the Naperville-Aurora area. People don't think about this as an area that really needs that kind of support. And yet in District 204 alone, we are running at just about 23% low income. And with 26,000 kids in the district,
It's a lot of people.
that translates out to almost 6,000 students in our district alone. And so we find that is, we provide opportunities and helping hands through our Kid Essentials program for them. And that is our fastest growing program right now. We have doubled the budget for that in just the last 2 years alone. And I'm looking to spend even more in this 24-25 year just to meet the basic needs of those kids.
Yeah. Well, that's a challenge, right? It is a challenge.
It is.
Yeah.
And it looks like everything from someone needs winter coats and boots, to someone needs school supplies, to someone needs groceries, to someone needs hygiene products, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's really a wide variety of needs, and it's not all the time, but every once in a while, someone just needs a little extra helping hand.
Yeah. And when you can offer that, it can make a world of difference, right?
Absolutely.
What's one thing you wish the community knew about your organization?
I think that what I would like most people to take away is that the Indian Prairie Educational Foundation runs approximately 15 programs throughout the school district every year on a regular basis. And then there's usually a handful of programs that get added in every year when an opportunity presents itself to partner with someone or some grant money comes along. But there is not a child in District 204, if they run from kindergarten to graduation, that one of our programs does not touch. And a lot of times that is done very quietly, right? They have no idea that their Fine Arts Festival that they have attended since they were in the 3rd grade was sponsored by us. They don't know that when they're doing robotics, that program was sponsored by IPEF, or that when they're getting a heart screening, that is necessarily sponsored by IPEF. And it's only me and my assistant Heidi. We are the only paid employees of the foundation. And then 18 amazing board of director volunteers. It's a very small group that does this, but it has a huge impact on our students, and we couldn't be prouder of the work that we're doing right now.
Well, I'm sure you're going to continue to do a good job, Trudy, with
thank you.
Heidi and the rest of your board and all the volunteers that step up and continue on that journey with you.
Thank you so much, Jane.
You're welcome. And for more information about the IPEF, please go and visit their website. I'd like to thank all of my guests for joining us on Spotlight, and our friends at Busey Bank for their generous sponsorship of today's show. To learn more about the organizations featured on this episode, please visit our website at nctv17.org. And to stay informed about what's happening in our community, sign up to receive our daily news update and like and follow us on social media. For Spotlight, I'm Jane Wernette. Thank you for watching.
Today's Spotlight is brought to you in part by presenting sponsor, Busey Bank.